about this before, but I'm doing hyperbaric treatments. I've done 40 of them, 40 90-minute treatments over the past few months.
How's it feeling?
I don't know. I feel pretty good. But I always feel good. That's what's confusing.
Well,
like I've been doing so much shit for so long.
Yep.
Like
so
I've never stopped.
You don't know it's working. That's
Right.
the problem. So this test that I'm developing, which will come out later, probably this year, is how do you know what you're doing is working? This is a big problem for everybody. And you don't stay motivated if you don't see it. We have dashboards on our cars. We know how fast we're going. We know if the engine needs work. With our bodies, we don't know that. And if you go to the doctor once a year, they don't know much either, to be honest. I mean, some of my best friends are doctors, real doctors. But what you need is one number at the top to rule them all. So you can measure things. You can wear rings. You can wear these wrist watches. I do a lot of that. I put these things on my chest. But it's really complicated. It's expensive. It's confusing. What you want is one number, and that's your biological age, which the test that I'm developing. And I want to democratize that because right now the people who are doing all of this stuff are the really rich people. And most people either don't know or can't afford it.
And the hyperbaric treatments, the reason why I'm doing it is because of that study out of Israel. You want to tell people about that?
So this is a study out of Israel. It's a group that has a chamber built by Germans, which is ironic, over in Israel. And so I went in this chamber, actually. I visited them before COVID, some of my good friends over there. And what they do is they put I don't know if yours is the same, but this is a really big room, and you can fit about 20 people in there. And they give you oxygen, so extra oxygen, and then they raise the pressure up. And then they drop it and raise it. Is that what you've been doing? Yeah, and so what happens, I think, to the body is the body's going, oh shit, I've got too much oxygen, so it responds. And then the decreased oxygen makes you feel hypoxic, like running. So this is a way of getting, in my view, exercise without having to exercise. And then you turn on these longevity genes. And I would bet, though I haven't proven it yet, though I am working on it, is that some of these genes that we've discovered, the sirtuins, was discovered to be involved in aging, we didn't discover them, are activated by this hyperbaric chamber. And what they showed in this paper that got probably you excited as well as everyone else is they looked at the ends of chromosomes which shorten over time, the telomeres, and actually got longer after this therapy. And that is a sign of reversing aging. It's not as good as the clock that I'm developing, but it is a good sign.
And they decided after examining these people from 90 days doing 60 sessions that it gave you the equivalent of 20 years decrease in biological age because of the length of the telomeres, which is super controversial, right?
It's certainly controversial. Everything's controversial in science till it's being repeated, and it takes 10 years for people to believe it.
But it's also controversial, the concept of telomere length being equal to biological age.
Well, yeah, it's one aspect. I would say that it's not that controversial, but it's certainly not the only determinant of age. What I think, and as I wrote about in my book, is that this biological clock, which is literally chemical changes to your DNA over time, is the real number. Telomeres are out there. They're like the wristwatch for health. That doesn't tell you your real age. It's an indicator. Mm-hmm. And the reason that it's not believed by a lot of people, and I'm kind of skeptical to some extent, is that telomeres get shorter when cells divide. Not all cells divide. Your brain doesn't divide, right? Not typically. And also, the telomeres can vary quite dramatically if you measure them 1 week after another, 1 month after another. They're jumping around. The test isn't very accurate, whereas the what's called the epigenetic age test, or a Horvath clock, named after my good friend Steve Horvath, that's much more accurate. That doesn't jump around unless you actually do something to either slow down or reverse aging. So I would say that you want to do this test. We should do a mouth swab, get you our test, and you can decide if you want to release that number, but I bet you're younger than you are, and we could tell everybody.